Iran's president is addressing the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Conference at the United Nations right now. And while there has been great anticipation about what he will say, there are already indications that it's not what Western powers are hoping to hear. We're going to get more from senior UN correspondent Richard Roth, who is live from the United Nations. And Richard, what are we hearing? What can we expect to hear?
President Ahmadinejad of Iran arrived within the hour here at the United Nations for this month-long nuclear non-proliferation treaty review conference. He's only going to be here for a few days, if that. The president of Iran came here already denouncing the United States for its policies on nuclear weapons. This is the president of Iran arriving at UN headquarters. He's quite familiar with the security guards or UN officials. He's been a regular visit here during the September General Assembly sessions. He's the only head of state to come to this nuclear non-proliferation treaty conference. That's not exactly good news for some Western powers, which are in the middle of trying to get negotiators together to have him sanctioned along with his country. We're having a walkout by the United Kingdom right now. You're seeing from President Ahmadinejad's speech. He's been talking for about 8 or 10 minutes. Most of the countries did not put their main ambassadors at the table. They had just a few note takers. So we saw a rather undiplomatic, but a point being made by the UK delegation leaving the United Nations General Assembly Hall. Here is the U.S. delegate walking out. I'm not sure what the president of Iran is saying right now to prompt it, but the United States and the UK are two of the lead countries that are trying to go after Iran with a fourth round of international sanctions, whether against Iran's presidential guard or some of its key banks and financial institutions, to try to put pressure on President Ahmadinejad because of its failure to comply with Security Council resolutions over its nuclear program. Iran says its intentions are purely peaceful. The West has concerns that Iran is building nuclear weapons. That's really what this conference is all about. Earlier, the president of Iran was called out, you might say, by the UN's top diplomat, Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, who gave some remarks that were rather critical of the Iran regime, and he asked that the Iranian president comply with the existing Security Council resolutions.
With respect to the Iranian nuclear program, I call on Iran to fully comply with the Security Council resolutions and fully cooperate with the IAEA. I encourage Iran to accept the nuclear fuel supply proposal put forward by the agency. This would be an important confidence-building measure. And I encourage the President of Iran to engage constructively. Let us be clear. The onus is on Iran to clarify the doubts and concerns about its program.
Now, when the president of Iran was speaking, he said that Iran has accepted the terms of a nuclear fuel deal that the Secretary General referred to. But this stalemate has been going on for months, if not years, with back and forth regarding any type of compromise over nuclear dealings and fuel shipments out of the country for enrichment elsewhere. Also, we should point out that U.S. officials are worried that the Iranian presence here will dominate this conference and will steer delegates away from the goals of the conference regarding overall nuclear non-proliferation. So U.S. officials say that the United States is working closely with Egypt now on a measure that will go for a nuclear weapons-free zone in the Middle East. That is more complicated than it sounds because delegates accuse Israel of possessing an arsenal and say it's a double standard while the West goes after Tehran for what it might have. Stan?
Richard, thank you very much for that. Richard Roth joining us live there from the UN. You saw the US and UK walking out, empty chairs where France was sitting. We're going to look now at what the Middle East feels about this. Now, most of the countries in the Middle East have said they aim to develop nuclear power. The status of Iran's nuclear program is largely unknown, but the US claims Iran is 1 to 6 years away from being able to produce a nuclear weapon. Israel has never admitted to having nuclear weapons, but it is widely believed that it does possess a nuclear arsenal. Egypt has announced plans to build a number of nuclear power stations to generate electricity, but abandoned plans to pursue nuclear weapons in the 1980s. Jordan also says it plans to develop its first nuclear power plant by 2015. And Saudi Arabia also says it is developing a civilian nuclear power supply and is working with other Gulf states, including Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman and Qatar.